Okay. Thank
Arinjita,
you.
you are the chair of this session, so all the speakers are here?
Yes, all the speakers are here, except I cannot see. Actually, the speakers have the same name as me. I don't know how to change that. I tried it myself. So,
I know now how to change it.
Yeah, it's now changed, Arinjita.
okay, it looks changed on your behalf. Then it's fine. It doesn't show up on my end, so I was just worried. But okay, thank you everyone for joining. So let's start our session, our journey of early career women in the pharmaceutical industry and their paths forward. Our first speaker is Dr. Dooti Roy. She's a director of global biostatistics and data sciences at Boehringer Ingelheim. She leads a team of a talented statistician and data scientists who develop and implement cutting-edge clinical research and statistical visualization tools. She has more than 8 years of experience in the biopharmaceutical industry, which has successfully created and led to numerous cross-functional collaborations to solve complex problems. She will be speaking on chasing science, passion, and heart, statistician journey into drug development. So Dooti, please go ahead and share your screen.
Thank you, Arinjita. Thanks everybody for attending and listening today. Let me try sharing my screen. And you guys tell me if you can see it. I try to make it in a full screen.
We can see it. It needs to be a little bit lesser, like zoomed a lesser bit, so that we can see it in full screen.
You can see this on full screen, right? Can someone else confirm too? So I'm seeing this on my full screen on my screen.
Yeah, we can see it on full screen.
Okay, that's
Okay,
great.
Dooti.
All right. Here we go. Again, starting with, yes, my name is Dooti Roy. Arinjita already introduced me to you, and so you know what my profession is. I am a director in BI. The name of the company is Boehringer Ingelheim. It's too long and too complex, a tongue twister. Let's stick with BI. And very happy to be here today. This is my story. And I hope through the course of this presentation today, you can see why I named it so, which is Chasing Science, Passion, and Heart. Just start with a regular disclaimer. Here the presentation will have ideas, beliefs, thoughts, and opinions from me, and these reflect my own beliefs, and it does not necessarily reflect those of any person, entity, organization, or institution. So when I think about who I am here, and I feel that we all have these intersectional identities, right? And this evolves also with time and experience as we grow and learn. So just to set the context here, the way I see myself is also a whole bunch of identities. It starts with being a daughter of a female mathematician and teacher. I'm also an Indian statistician. I'm a clinical data scientist and drug developer. I wear sometimes the hat of a people leader, where I see myself as a grower, a helper, a promoter, a sponsorer. And I also teach. That makes me a teacher, a mentor. And of course, we are all lifelong learners, which also makes me a student. And this talk is going to be about some of my personal highlights. And if you have questions, please feel free to ask and type them in the chat, and we can get there. The first thing that I wanted us to think about is this idea of discovering and not knowing. So this is really about what we want to do as a career. Maybe many of the people here would have heard this, that, oh, do we already know what we want to do? And in my life and career, the most people that I have met, they did not really know what they want for their career. They kind of chase their passion, or maybe it was luck or just an opportunity. Many people have tried and failed multiple times, and maybe if they're lucky, they have ended up with something they feel motivated about. And here I am no different. I tried retail banking at some point, oh, miserable. Then insurance for some time, even voyeuristically some tech, because my husband works in tech. And in the process, somewhere I discovered clinical trials, drug development, saving lives, and all that. And this last one really stuck to me, and it still does. And here I am 8 years after, talking to you guys about my journey. This kind of is a very brief snapshot of my journey and some of the few roles that I've had. As you will see, I'm kind of a jumper. So I started in 2015 in BI, and my journey started with being a trial statistician in oncology. By 2017, I had the opportunity to start looking at mental health disease and disorders, and this is what I mean by CNS. But I had also grown in experience, so I was ready to lead projects as a statistical lead. At the same time, I started realizing that I have quite a passion for pursuing methodology track. And at that point, because of my work, I got into this topic of dose finding. And to those who may not know, in drug development, a lot of effort in the middle stage development is spent on identifying what is this right dose that we want to give our patients, which maximizes the efficacy, but also balances the safety so that the patient is safely taking this drug in a controlled environment. So that was 2017. By 2019, I had fully convinced myself that I need to try this methods track more deeply. And in BI, there is this group for methodology, which is called MSTAT. And I led myself through a series of interviews, got the job. And then I was asked, oh, so you're going to switch fully as an MSTAT. And I'm like, uh-oh, I don't want to do that, because my idea was, well, as an MSTAT, we are supposed to solve problems in the industry. How on earth am I going to come up with problems if I take myself off drug development completely? So my solution, what I proposed to my leadership was, let me do halfway the PSTAT role, which is basically a project statistician role in my trial and projects that I was leading. And simultaneously, let me explore for half my time discovering some methodological problems and finding solutions. And this worked very nicely. In 2020, I had an opportunity to play the role of a product owner. I know this role, product ownership, is quite common in tech industry. It was quite uncommon in pharmaceuticals, and this was kind of like a new challenge. What is this thing? And then the experience of building an initiative from scratch. I did this for a couple of years. By 2022, I was very curious to try on the hat of a formal people developer. And this was another opportunity came by, I applied, got the role, kind of the same story. This year in 2023, I had to step out of my product ownership and I stepped into I don't know, even more complex role the way I see it. This is like a product owner of product owners. And I will tell you a little bit more if you're interested. So this is kind of like the different roles that I have tried within the organization. Hopefully you get the idea. The next thing that I was thinking what I should talk to you guys about, one topic was, well, many of us here are pursuing graduate school. Some of you will get a PhD degree. So what is this difference between an industry-based methodology role that what we have done, for example, in school? So two aspects, right? What can we transfer and leverage, and what do we need to learn or rethink? In terms of transferring and leveraging, of course, we can transfer our passion for pursuing rigorous science, right? This is something you can definitely take along. The other aspect is our ability to frame questions of interest. In many cases, maybe you have already had some experience in graduate school where people come to us with a lot of information, and then our job is to kind of get these questions of interest synthesized from that information, and then we try to answer this with data. This is something will be also incredibly valuable when you play a role in an industry-based methods. The third piece, what I took with me was this ability to learn from failures and just trying differently, like not giving up, right? You never know the solution you propose is going to work or not. You need to have that approach that, okay, if I fail, great, I learn something from it, I move on, I try something else. The fourth one would be examining our own ideas critically. During our graduate school experience, I was always asked to critically think about the assumptions. Why do they make sense? And even check the robustness of those assumptions. This is something we also can take with us. The last topic, of course, our core expertise in statistics and data science is something we take along. Now, what about this learning or rethinking pieces? Well, for me, these were the following. First, working in collaboration. To me, PhD was kind of like a solo pursuit. This was dramatically different in industry. The second piece was speaking up, right? Speaking up respectfully but firmly when you believe in something, speak in terms of data and evidence, being able to be a translator for our science. Many of the people around us in the industry-based role are people who are not really from the same scientific background. And we need to be able to translate this complex science in a language that they understand. The fourth piece that I found very helpful was about empathy and understanding. It's very easy to say, oh, those guys must not see what we are seeing. They are not understanding and feel frustrated. But it's another piece to say, oh, maybe they just have a different viewpoint and we need to extend our empathy and understanding and get that get them to also understand where we are coming from. The fifth piece is about business understanding, and of course, seeing the bigger picture is very important. And I think the last piece where it needed work was just accepting that, we may not know everything, and that's completely okay. We learn and we grow. I wanted to bring sort of like a story about some of these initiatives that I have done within the organization. And the first thing that came to mind as I was thinking about these initiatives was curiosity is, for me at least, always step one of innovation. The story goes back in 2018. I was mentioning to you guys earlier, I was a CNSP stat. And at that meeting, there was this team discussing, there was this new mobile application tool which tracks patient adherence. To those who may not know, in CNS, so mental health diseases, patients are well known not to take their drugs, skip doses, and therefore this is obviously a big problem in a trial because you do need your patients to take the drug to measure whether the drug is efficacious or safe for them. This tool, and at some point in the meeting, someone mentioned, oh, we wonder maybe this data we collect through this mobile application may have some predictive ability. I remember that immediately piqued the curiosity, and I was like, oh, can we really try to see if this works? In the next 3 months, I had established a collaboration with my clinician, with some operations folks, with data science people, and the vendor itself. And in the next year or so, we had built a machine learning tool, which was now predicting individual patient adherence. We talked about it broadly. At the same time, we were thinking about the operationalizability of this approach, right? It's great to innovate and bring a tool forward, but can you actually operationalize it? That's another big concern and a very important consideration in an industry-based innovation topic. But because of this work, by mid-2020, so roughly 1.5 years later from where we started, this tool is now used in every CNS trial that BI conducts. And this is like just one example of how data scientists at Statistician can bring value to drug development through curiosity, through innovation, through our skills, what we see. The second piece that I wanted to share here was, when I was thinking back about my career and the many things that I have tried doing, one thing I kept in mind was playing to my strength. Right. So when I was getting trained in PhD, this was a Bayesian-based PhD. And what I was doing initially when I joined in 2015 around, I was volunteering to explore Bayesian alternative, for example, to oncology dose selection approaches. At that time, the Bayesian logistic regression modeling, or BLRM as they're called, was quite new. And I wanted to try that. Once that was successful, I also kept an eye for potential applications of Bayesians to answer business curious questions. And why I say business curious, because these questions at that point, this approach was not considered like a primary analysis that you have to do or else something will go wrong. It really depends, at least in my experience, for the team to be able to see the value and then start demanding of this innovation more. And that's how you make it business critical. What we have to acknowledge here is definitely translated into more work, no doubt about that, right? And this also we needed to convince the organization to see as necessary and a value add. And here, I think communication with empathy and business understanding was so critical if you want to replicate, for example, similar stories in your organizations. And then we definitely need partners and allies who stand and work with us. So I mentioned in 2020 on the slide, Quick happened. So let me tell you a little bit what Quick was. And this to me is one example I can bring where I was really thrown into the deep end, and it was about accepting new challenge. So 2020 October, smack in the middle of pandemic, one of my senior leaders approached me and said, well, we really want to start leveraging historical data more to improve efficiency and precision of trials. And we want to use Bayesian borrowing as widely as possible. And I asked him, so how many people do I have to make this happen? Because the scope seemed very broad to me. And he said, well, there is another person. So with that in mind, in 2.5 years, now we have grown this team into a team of 15 plus across collaboration, global team. We have had successes across multiple therapeutic areas. We even had some regulatory submission experience with this. But one thing that taught me was it really takes patience to observe the fruits of labor. When you start with something new, don't expect that immediately it will have impact and everybody will acknowledge you and you get all the appreciation. It takes patience, but you can get there if you persevere.
Dooti, sorry to interrupt. You have like 1 minute probably. So
If I have 1 minute, then I would just go to this slide and say, well, Mike, I can share my slides with you later, and you can also look at what other options I wanted to present to you here. But just to end up, these are some of the ventures that I'm doing right now in the organization. You can see just from the slide, the goals and the scopes are quite abstract and global. And this is kind of what I say, a strategy mixed with a healthy dose of optimism. Establishing learning and development strategy, enabling R-based clinical trial reporting, or being a sponsor now of the initiative that I started 2.5 years ago. Lastly, I just wanted to be thankful for what I received. A lot of mentorship, a lot of colleagues and collaborators who said yes, and for the trust that I received and for the open-mindedness of the people who worked with me. And I just wanted to end by saying, well, harnessing science to innovate on patient-focused solutions together is my passion, and thank you for listening to my story.
thank you, Dooti. It's really inspiring and interesting talk. Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Dr. Hiya Banerjee. She is currently working in diabetes group as a biostatistician at Eli Lilly. She has worked in different pharmaceutical companies from more than a decade. She graduated from University of California, Riverside with a PhD in statistics. She will speak on wearing many hats in career development, navigating challenges, and maximizing growth. Here to you.
Thank you, Arinjita, for inviting me in this session, and thank you all. And while I was listening to Dooti, I was just thinking, oh, it's almost the same story. So here I want to present my career journey at the first, and then also to show you that how I found my why, or this ever ending journey of finding yourself through your career. So my presentation is on that. I hope everybody can hear me and see my screen.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I think, I am, my name is Hiya Banerjee. I currently work as a director in drug development at Eli Lilly. And I have a PhD in statistics. I think, probably very normal academically, probably everyone has, probably in this panel, everybody has the same path as I have, so nothing fancy. So I started after school, I started working in preclinical, as a preclinical biostatistician at a contract research organization. And, in Madison, Covance was the employer. I worked there 1.5 years, and then I was talking to, my peers or my mentors, and they're like, oh, you should move to pharmaceutical industry. So I moved from there to AbbVie, Chicago, where I was an early development biostatistician. All my work based on clinical trials. In preclinical, I used to work more on the animal data, but in early development, I started with human data, but very small studies, depending on your therapeutic area. But then I moved to Novartis, where while working as a early development biostatistician, I just thought it will be better for me if I move to late phase, where we deal with phase 3, phase 3B and phase 4, studies. So I, it was an internal move. So I moved to late phase biostatistician. So while I was at Novartis, I was just thinking, I have to do like something else, beyond statistics. And I want to tell you, like, I studied statistics purely because my parents wanted me to study this, not that I was a fan of this subject or anything like that. So in my college days, I wanted to do MBA. So I thought, probably I should pursue my my dream, what I had in my childhood now, when I have little more money to spend, right? So I started like doing MBA at Rutgers. While doing it, I wanted to also use like my MBA's knowledge. So I asked my manager, I'm like, can I do something inside Novartis, which can help me to have some idea about the business side of the industry. So, it was an internal, not a transfer, but like, I worked like 50% as a market access associate. So where my role was primarily to look, that how the approved drug can reach to the patients, because, like I always worked in drug development. That means like before the approval happens to the drug, right? And I used to be very happy just knowing that, the drug I worked got approval. That's it, right? But then when I went to this market access group, I realized it's completely different ballgame. Yeah, your approval is the first step, but you have so many competitors in the market, and the treatment landscape sometimes is like so competitive that you have to differentiate your product from the other products. And that's what, like, I started learning in the market access, which was very fascinating. However, I still did not feel great about the role I was working on it. So I remember, after 6 months of that rotational work, when the market access department in Novartis asked me what is my end goal, do I want to stay here, do I want to do again biostats? So I mentioned to them, I'm like, I want to do biostats again. So I moved back to late phase biostats. However, I think there was something still not convincing me that I still want to stay in statistics. So in the meantime, I finished my MBA. So I talked to my peers, I talked to my mentors, and they said, like, maybe you should try equity research associate. So equity research associate is a research based position where you do, like, the sort of a business development type of research. That means you want to see, like, what drugs in the market, what is the treatment landscape, and like, where the company you are supporting, where they're falling in the whole space. And, based on that, you actually determine the stock price of that company. I thought, wow, that's wonderful. Here I can actually use both my knowledge in drug development and also whatever I learned from the market access. I left Novartis, I went to Wall Street in an investment bank, and I took only one interview in one of the investment company. I got the job, and I thought, wow, that is my calling. I probably should have tried this, like after my bachelor's. Anyway, I went there, but while working there, I realized certain things. Even like within for 6-7 days, I realized, it is great. I mean, of course, Wall Street, it is flashy. Like, there are many opportunities to learn a lot of new things, but somewhere I did not feel rewarded. I did not feel I'm making any contribution, because I started feeling that that type of thoughts, that I'm like, even if in pharma, even if I'm doing like a summary statistics of like 2 drugs, even then I feel like, I'm adding some value. But over here, I am pricing like, some company stock. I don't feel any value to it, So, and also the work hours were very, very different than like what you do in pharma. So I could survive only 3 months there. And then, like I reached out to my Novartis peers and my managers. So they hired me back, and I'm super grateful to them. They hired me back again as a biostatistician, but then I was placed in medical affairs, which are like, after approval, the studies you do, like typically phase 4 studies. And also, you do a lot of exploratory analysis to differentiate your drug. So then I worked there 3 years, and then I left Novartis again, and I came to Eli Lilly, where I work currently at the late phase, but now I'm in diabetes. Also in Novartis, I was always in oncology. So this is like my career journey till now. So while doing this, and I was actually thinking about it, that like, I mean, I have so many jumps here and there, here and there. A lot of time people ask me a lot of questions that, and also like it comes with a lot of challenges. And you can see, like, in this area where I was a market access associate, I was also working as a late phase biostatistician, and I splitted my time 50-50 in two groups, and which basically 100-100 in two groups. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the challenges like I faced having this type of diversified career. Sometimes like we lose focus on important things, right? Because like while I was doing so many things, so many different things, people are like, okay, what do you want? Like, what is your end goal? And many of the time I did not have any answer, because I was still exploring. I was still thinking about, like, that what should I do? Many of the time you don't know what is the definition of your job, because if you say you're a biostatistician, people know you are a biostatistician. If you say you are a market research associate, people know your job. And but whenever you are sort of like in the dual role, like you want to do both, then you cannot define your jobs. And multitasking can be very distracting. Many of the time you want to give like 200% to each of the job, but you cannot. And in your mind somewhere, you want to probably prioritize one job to the another, and that can hamper a lot in your whole career. Okay. Another thing, since I changed jobs and I changed different like for different roles, right? So career progression can take a backseat. I had to wait more times, like to get a promotion when I changed jobs, like drastically, to go to Wall Street, right? And also working hours can be much more than what you can do. Like, if you're stick with one role, and like, suppose if I was a biostatistician, I would have like a good hold, after 5-6 years, and I probably can leverage that that understanding. But when you are changing this type of even industry and also the type of the work, you have to sort of start from your beginning, and that requires a lot of like education again, in that area, and also you have to spend more hours. And also another thing I want to emphasize. Yes.
Yeah, you have 3 minutes left.
Okay.
Just wanted to
Sure. Yeah, so the trusting issue can be like one thing, like because people don't want to know, like, I mean, they don't know what you are doing, so it might have trusting issue. But what is like, what is the rewards, right? Rewards is learning. At this stage, like after 10 years, I feel like, I not only learned like drug development, but also I learned about the business, how it works. And that now I'm getting a little bit of fruit of it. People in the industry, when they know, okay, I want to be a biostatistician, I want to stay as a biostatistician, but here I can also leverage my business knowledge. And I learned like how to collaborate with different people with different backgrounds, and also appreciating everyone's roles, because many of the time we have PhD and we feel like, wow, like, a bachelor, he probably would not know about this, but they know something which we don't know. And I just want to mention that I found my why. But before that, I just want to show you this slide that when I was preparing this slide, I was thinking about what is my why. Like you probably know all Simon Sinek, like, he always asks like, what is your why? So my why is like, contributing to the society whatever way I can. And obviously I'm a biostatistician, so I serve as a biostatistician. I do a lot of professional organizations. I'm also a humanitarian and a fitness enthusiast. And what I do, like I use statistics and analytics, to contribute to patients' journey. And at work, I do exactly same thing, but I become an integral part like of the team, or integral partner of the team, where we are trying to bring new drugs or even established drugs to the patients. And that I do using like, different statistical solutions, and, doing deep research about treatment landscape and any other typical biostatistician's job I do. So saying that, I want to finish my talk, and if I see like I have 1 minute maybe I can take one question.
Sure. If you have any questions.
I want to ask a question which I think is maybe critical in a conference like this, that everybody that has talked has said that they want to contribute something to society as the why for why they're doing this. Do we think, and this is a controversial question, do we think that this is more of a female trait, that that we want to contribute somehow or the other, that nurturing piece is there? I just want to bring it up and see what people think.
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful question, and definitely maybe, like, because I'm a female, I have a nurturing side. But I think after, like, I became more than 35, I started questioning myself, like, what is my end goal, where I am going. I sometimes envision myself, oh, I will become a CEO of a company, but then I realized I cannot be. So my point is, then I started giving deeper thought that what is, like, this why, like, I mean, will it make me happy if I become a CEO, but no intention? And I think Wall Street was an example where, like, the money was a lot, but then I realized the work is not, that appealing. And believe me, in Arinjita, I always used to go to town hall in Pharma, and where the CEOs used to say, every day they wake up because of the patients. And I always thought, like, they just make it up, right? But then when I went to Wall Street, I realized you have to have that purpose, whatever it is. If your purpose is to make money, that's fine. But you have to have a purpose. And that is how I came to my why, like, what is my purpose? And yeah, like, maybe because I'm a woman, probably I thought it earlier. I don't know, but I think it helps me to keep me grounded. Whenever I see frustration, then I'm like, okay, it's just a part of the big why. I can deal with it as long as, I see, like, my purpose is fulfilling.
Niranjana, maybe just to add, speaking up for men, I have had a lot of mentors who are men, and then I think that I will remain eternally grateful for that. And in some way, these guys are also doing their part in giving back. So, I mean, I don't know if this is really a gender question, or is it something really about the mindset of that person. Some people are just more inclined to give back, and while others don't feel that same motivation. So maybe.
I mean, I totally agree on that particular topic. Like you, I was the only statistician, and all my mentors were a male for the longest time. And, people have very different motivations. But I think as females, we tend to say this more, that this is why I'm doing this. This is just a thought, but totally. But anyway, I will stop and let the next speaker.
Thank you so much for such inspiring talks. This is really great, and as I see your careers, it makes me feel as an early career professional that I can take more risk in my career too. So our next speaker is Dr. Bhramori Banerjee. Sorry about that. She has been working at Merck for a little over 2 years. Previous to joining at Merck, she has worked in many pharmaceutical companies as well as CROs such as GSK, Novartis, Celgene, IQVIA in different capacities for 11 years. She has completed her PhD at Temple University and did an internship at Merck during her tenure as a student at Temple University. She will be speaking on journey of a statistician in the pharmaceutical industry during the early career years, which can be challenging. Thank you. To you, Bhramori.
Can you see my screen? Okay. So today I'll be talking not of my personal journey, but more like how I think, how I perceive is a statistician should develop or learn. So is this full screen by any chance? No, right? Let me.
Not yet.
Not yet.
You have to go down just, yeah.
Yeah, now it
Now
is.
it's good.
Now it is, okay. So I think, in my opinion, we should ask the right questions, think critically, communicate effectively with other functional areas, and be innovative where we can. So in my presentation, in the next few slides, I've given some examples, more technical examples, where you could, it shows that these are the qualities that kind of brings you the right answers, which is critical in drug development. So in the first example, in patient-reported outcomes, we need to think what should be the order of the questions, because that might have an impact on the responder's answer. This is because if you ask a question, it leaves a residue that affects the reliability of the next question. So as a study, it has been shown that 180 college-going students were asked to complete a questionnaire, where half of them were asked a general question in the beginning and half of them were asked a specific question later. And in the half of them, the questions were reversed they were asked in a reverse order. So in the first half of students, they were asked, how happy are you with life? And then they were asked a specific question, that how happy are you with your dating situation? In the second half, the order was switched and they were first asked of their dating situation and then how happy they were in life. So it was shown that the correlation in the first order was very low. However, the correlation between happiness and the dating was much more in the second order. So which shows that, the way, the order that in which you ask your questions has an impact on how you're thinking about in the next question. So these are examples where, especially in cognitive studies, you need to be aware that, asking a pain question and quality of life question, which one should come first and which one should come should come later, because that would impact how your results would look. This is another example where surveillance data from 8 Dutch hospitals showed urinary tract infection in patients. And the paradox that came out of this study was that antibiotic prophylaxis was associated with a lower rate of UTI. So if you look at the table, the last row, if you aggregate all the tables, all the hospitals, then you would see that, the people who have antibiotic prophylaxis had a lower risk of UTI than people who did not have an antibiotic prophylaxis. But when you look carefully and you stratify based on the hospitals who have lower or higher UTI infection, you would see that the association reverses. So which means it is very easy to demonstrate, get to the wrong conclusions if you're just solely relying on intuition. So we have to demonstrate, this is an example where you kind of need to have a rigorous and thoughtful analysis before you do, if you design a study or plan a study. The reason for this is sometimes we overlook a confounding variable that has a very strong effect on the outcome variable. And the potential, we should identify the potential confounding variables so that helps us to design and analyze the study. The third example is one where there's a lot of complexity and how you could communicate this in a more effective way to get some conclusions. So this is about a psoriasis trial with 3 endpoints and 2 doses, which are considered equally important. And we have 2 co-primary endpoints, IgA and PASI 75, and one secondary endpoint, which is PASI 90. And the objective of the study is to see the treatment efficacy in either doses in comparison with placebo, and then do the non-inferiority of the winning dose relative to an active control, and then establish superiority to active for the winning dose. So this is like a very complex situation where you need to, where you have 10 hypotheses, and this needs to be tested in a clinically meaningful way while controlling for the family-wise error rate. So, and these are the different doses that I've highlighted. This is the first one is PASI 75 and IgA compared to placebo, the first two. The second one is PASI 90, which is the second key secondary endpoint, and then we go to non-inferiority of with an active control, and then superiority with an active control. So this is like a very complex situation where you might have to kind of convey these kind of situations to the clinical team. And an effective way of doing this is using a graphical design instead of trying to talk that out and give tables and decisions. And it is much easier to show in a graph where you start testing with H1 and H3 and kind of go through the cycle, split the alpha between the secondary endpoint and the non-inferiority, and then go on testing the superiority. And this arrows show that you could go from one dose to the other, and the order of testing doesn't really matter, because you could start with either of them and go to the other one. So this is an example where you could communicate this much easily using the graphs instead of tables and going through the testing strategy with words and other tools. And the last example I have is how effectively we could use innovative ideas to augment information. So like in the lupus pediatric trial, due to the rarity of the disease, there was a fully powered phase 3 study was not feasible. So they had despite a lot of effort, they could not recruit more than 93 subjects. And so they had to be innovative in how they are going to get more robust results by borrowing information from other trials. So, so additional Bayesian analysis was done to evaluate further evaluation on the treatment effect and robust decision making. But in order to do that, we have to consider whether the baseline disease activity and the patient response to treatments if they are similar in both populations, and whether the endpoints are clinically relevant in both populations. So there were efficacy. It was shown that the efficacy results from the pediatric study was very similar to those of the adult studies, but with wider confidence interval. And most of the baseline disease characteristics were very similar in both populations. So a meta-analysis was conducted for the adult studies, and they were kind of combined using like a weighted combination of the skeptical prior and the adult treatment effect to create, in order to get a pediatric prior distribution. And this was used to compute the posterior probability of efficacy. And they were repeated for different values of the weighting parameter to show that this drug works even in pediatrics. So this is, I think, a very innovative way of how you could borrow and augment information where you don't have, where it's difficult to get information from the current trial. So
Bhramori, you have 3 more minutes.
Yeah, I'm almost done.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so these are some of the examples which I've shown to, I think as a statistician, it is important to contribute and be a key team player. Thank you for listening. I can take one question probably, if I have time.
Questions, please. I don't see any questions in the chat yet. Let's wait for another minute. So in the interest of time, I'm going to go to the next speaker, which is me, surprisingly. My name is Arinjita Bhattacharyya. I'm a PhD graduate in biostatistics from University of Louisville, Kentucky. I am a senior scientist currently working at Merck at the Biostatistics and Research Decision Group. I have completed my bachelor's and master's in statistics from University of Calcutta and University of Pune, India. And I have internship experiences at Janssen Pharmaceuticals and University of Michigan. So my primary research interests are clinical trials, COVID-19, HIV, mental health, oncology, shrinkage priors, and subgroup analysis and Rhodes response models. So I love to make connections and mentor students, and I'm actively involved in ASA, JD, CAUSE, IISA, CWS, NR, and CNS. So let me share my screen and show you the presentation. So can you see my screen?
Yes, make it full screen maybe.
Yeah, now?
Yes.
Okay. So I will be speaking on life in pharma through the eyes of an early career professional. Thank you everyone for joining my talk. So these are the contents. I will specifically focus on the overview of BARTS, the department that I work in, and early clinical development statistics, my role as a senior scientist there, and CQTC analysis of COVID-19 drug, molnupiravir, which is built by Merck, and some career opportunities at Merck. So, Merck & Co. is a global multinational pharmaceutical company headquartered in Ravage, New Jersey. It is named after the Merck family, which set up Merck Group in Germany, 1668. The company does business as Merck Sharperdome outside of US and Canada. It is one of the oldest pharmaceutical company. One of the famous quote from our inventor, George W. Merck, is that we try to never forget that medicine is for the people. It is not for the profits, and profits will follow if we have remembered that. We have many businesses areas, which are prescription medicines, vaccines, biologic therapies, and health products. We have revenue of 59.3 billion with investment of 13.5 billion in R&D. We have 69K employees, and our headquarters is at Rahway, New Jersey. So our main therapeutic areas are oncology, vaccines, infectious diseases, and cardiometabolic diseases. Our most important noteworthy drug is Keytruda, which has received FDA approval for many types of cancer. Merck has the largest industry's oncology clinical research program. There are currently more than 1,500 trials studying Keytruda across a wide variety of cancers and treatment settings. Januvia is for type 2 diabetes. Gardasil is for HPV vaccine. Recently, we have received emergency use authorization from FDA for COVID-19 drug molnupiravir, and we have all mostly taken MMR and BCG vaccines probably in our lifetime, and Merck has done a remarkable job in developing the vaccine for Ebola. So welcome to BARDS. BARS is a global, highly professional quantitative science organization providing industry-leading support. BARS supports Merck product research and development and simultaneously contributes methodology to the scientific disciplines of statistics, epidemiology, health economics, and scientific programming. Sharp and Dome in 1938 hired Joe Seminara as a research pharmacist. Joe was the first statistician in the pharmaceutical industry and was instrumental in organizing the first biostatistics group, which is the biometric research, which still exists today in BARDS. So we have different offices at various places, such as Upper Gwinnett in Pennsylvania, West Point in Pennsylvania, Rahway in New Jersey, Zurich, China, London, etc. So this is our mission and vision statement. Today, BARDS consists of more than 700 professionals. Over the years, our statisticians, epidemiologists, health economists have made noteworthy contributions to quantitative methods, advancing their respective disciplines and beyond their contributions to specific R&D projects at Merck. As a result, we have an impressive publication record, and our staff has received a number of awards and recognitions, including American Statistical Association Fellows. So we, as a part of BARDS, support drug discovery from phase 1 to all the way to phase 4. There are several sections and departments, namely biometric research, early development, late development, programming, and methodology research. So our department falls under Global Clinical Development, which is the Merck Research Laboratories division. BARS consists of EDS, LDS, and clinical safety statistics and health technology assessment. I mainly work in early clinical development statistics. So my roles and responsibilities includes working with the clinical team, programmers, regulatory, and the PK pharmacokinetics group. We contribute to the clinical trial study design and overall study drug development strategy. I author statistical analysis plan and clinical study reports, and statisticians lead effort to define needs for data sets, tables, listings, and figures. I work in a group of clinical scientists, statistical programmers, and statisticians. So as I said, I work in early development on clinical pharmacology products. My daily project work includes designing first-in-human studies, multiple ascending dose studies, bioequivalence studies, drug-drug interaction studies, formulation studies, bioequivalence studies, etc. And these are studies which have already been done on rats, dogs, and monkeys, and the new compound is first introduced to human and evaluate the PK/PD of the drugs. So pharmacokinetics represents what the body does to the drug, whereas pharmacodynamics can be defined as what the drug does to the body. The therapeutic areas that have worked on till now are COVID-19, pain medicine, HIV, oncology, cardiovascular study, bacterial infection, pediatric oncology, among others. So my day-to-day activities includes working as a team with clinical scientists, data management, and programmers, authoring statistical analysis plan of the protocol of new interventions, conducting meetings with the team, designing the study, such as parallel or crossover design, attending drug-related meetings, power and sample size calculations, preparing mock-ups for TLFs, and working with programmers to analyze the data, authoring the final clinical study reports, job-related trainings, research initiatives, and professional activities such as being a part of ASA, CWS, NR, etc. So there are some research projects that I conduct as a part of my collaborations and summer internship work. So I have worked on application of Bayesian shrinkage priors and its application to preclinical research, two-part 2D model and its application to omics data. We have recently worked on a clinical trial data from clinical trials Gov and built an R package called ACT Reveal, which is available in the GitHub. And also I have collaborated with late stage department and worked on group sequential designs. So this is one of the project that I wanted to highlight, which is the CQTC analysis of COVID-19 drug molnupiravir. So torsade points is one of the several types of life-threatening heart rhythm disturbances. So torsade points is associated with QTC prolongation or the heart rate prolongation that lead to life-threatening disease and sudden cardiac death. So along with assessing the safety and efficacy of the drug, one primary statistical study about the safety is the CQTC analysis of the drug, whether or not it leads to important QTC prolongation. So QTC studies are essential to evaluate the effect and association of the drug with QT interval prolongation. We performed concentration QTC model-based analysis, and this type of modeling aims to respond to the question whether the increasing drug concentrations lead to an increased risk of QTC prolongation. We have a scientific paper, a white paper on this. If you want to read that, I can give you the link for that, and we perform the analysis on the basis of that scientific paper. So this statistical question needs to be administered in most of the drugs, and this study was a part of PMDA and FDA submission. So molnupiravir, as we all know, that it was one of the greatest inventions by Merck to combat against the COVID-19 pandemic. There was a lot of media coverage, even in one of the Bengali newspaper in my local language, and it was in my hometown that it was tested among patients in hospital. So the final study conclusion from the CQTC analysis of the molnupiravir drug was that there was no meaningful relationship found between the drug and its effect on the heart rate. So today is World's Mental Health Day, and I wanted to highlight Merck's efforts towards mental health disorders. We have MK8189 drug in participants with acute episode of schizophrenia. We have MK1942 for stable antidepressant therapy. These are all publicly available data at Clinical Trials Group. You can go and look into that in more details. So as a Merck employee, the company is committed to providing you and your family with resources to help you manage your physical, emotional, and financial well-being. So along with challenging and fun projects, Merck takes care of your physical and mental health. Merck has partnered with a vendor called Lyra Health to have mental health benefits available for those who need for 24/7. And we have 25 days of vacation from next year, which is a very primary benefit and among industry's first to propose that. We are recruiting graduate students for summer internship positions for the next year. It is open now, and this is the requisition ID. You can go there at the site, which looks like this, which is 2024 University Recruiting Biostatistics Intern. And following that requisition ID, you can apply there and create a account there, and finally and also go to jobs@merck.com to apply for jobs there. Thank you so much for listening. I look forward to participating next year. Thank you to IDWSDS for accepting my session, and thank you to all the speakers. If you have any questions, I will be happy to take it.
If no one has any question, I want to thank Arinjita for organizing this session for all of us. And it was really, very inspiring to listen to everyone.
Yeah, I just want to echo here. This is also my feeling. It was really good being part of this session. It was my first time participating in this conference. Glad that we did this together. And thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
We
all for
still have 2
joining us.
minutes,
We
so
appreciate
if
it.
anyone has questions or comments.
Thank you very much, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.